something interesting is sure to happen. Well, I think you ought to tell me who you are first. Mr. Rabbit? Then why did you ask the question?
Goodness, this is quite extraordinary.
Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?
But today is turning into the most curious adventure I have ever had.
Welcome everyone back to the Alice in Wonderland podcast. Today I have an incredible guest. I met Elizabeth Jackson, I think it was last year, in her role as a podcast host for the Hot Entrepreneur. No, it wasn't Hot Entrepreneur. It was Me and Money or Making Money. Got Money. Yeah. So this woman is absolutely incredible. A little bit of my hero, actually, and I think I can learn a lot from Elizabeth through what she's being able to do, especially because I've launched a podcast, but this incredible woman has already launched a couple of podcasts. She's got some huge plans for the future as well. And I thought, let's get her on board and hear a little bit about her journey, some of her lessons, some of her tips, and also some of her insights about just whatever. We're going to let this flow. We're going to be Alice in Wonderland, tumbling down the rabbit hole for a period of time and just see what unfolds here. Now, here's something I want to start off, Elizabeth. So with most of my guests, I ask them a question, and I haven't preempted you with this one. So let's imagine that I'm Alice in Wonderland and I'm walking through Wonderland and I bump into you, and I'm a 7-year-old girl, just, merrily going through it, and I bump into you. You're a wise person there. And I say to you, well, what is it that you do, Elizabeth? How would you answer that to a 7-year-old?
I do a number of things. So I'm a property investment strategist, which I love, and I do that from home in a pair of jangles and a t-shirt, which is just fabulous. And the other part of it is I'm an advocate for women and information and for people, and I'm all about diversity and bringing people together. And I'm a great networker, and the area I love to do that is through radio or podcasting. Because I really I want to showcase incredible stories to young women and young men that are looking for nurture and love and food. And I think hearing great stories is great food. It's food for your soul. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I love that exactly what you said there around great stories is really good food for nurturing people. We get inspired by other people. And here's something that I learned recently that really fits in with what you do is that we learn through, there's a part of how we learn is through osmosis. So the more people that you interview that are inspiring and courageous and on purpose, the more people out there become inspired, courageous, and start to live on purpose. So what you're doing is a really great token of love and gift to the world.
It's kind of selfish in a little bit of a way too, though, because I remember having you on the show recently with Greg. I get to speak to people that give me food. So while I'm offering the audio back to the world, I get to kind of dive into a vast pool and swim in any direction I like. And I get to meet incredible people as a result of that. And it's selfish because I just relish it. I love it. And what I get from those interviews, producing them and bringing them out there, is just, it's so much, it gives me an incredible capacity to love. And it teaches me. And I feel like all I'm doing is I'm creating an opportunity for great voices to be heard. That's it.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, and you can tell you love it because I remember turning up to the studio for your podcast on a number of occasions, and your energy is absolutely captivating and it's just so enticing. And it's great to be around you because you can really tell that you're on purpose and you love what you do. And that in itself inspires me. That's one of the reasons I thought I've got to get you on my podcast. I don't know why, but I just need people. I do know why, but I just need people to hear more about what it is that you do and the love and energy you bring into the projects and the work that you do.
I love that you're doing it. I really do. It's really interesting. When I met you the first time on #GotMoney, and what I realised is you're a real stand for your fellow human beings, which I think is fabulous and really generous, and you do that in work. But I didn't understand to the depth of your learning until I got you back in to talk about neuroscience, which I'm a student in and know very little about. And I'm so glad that you're taking all that 20 years of vast learning and putting it into a podcast, because there's an opportunity for you to give back as a result of that. You're not hiding it, and I think I commend you for doing this. And I think it's really brave too. And I love that you've just taken it on. And I mean, we were talking before the show, even editing and being in that space. Like there's a certain fun about producing it and bringing it out there, and I just commend you for doing it.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're going to have the Mutual Admiration Society happening here.
No, it's good. It's great. There's not enough. You know what? Men are really good at saying they're great, and we don't do it enough as women. So I don't think we as women hear that enough. We certainly don't take it enough. So I'm giving it to you. You're great, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, that was totally unexpected, because I'm here to talk to you, and it's just been bounced right back at me. Thank you.
It's brave, and I commend you. Well done.
Thank you. So I want to speak about your journey into the media. I'm really curious about what was it what you started? How did you get into creating your podcast and this avenue of being selfish, but also at the same time spreading these really great stories to the world and this information?
I started off when I was in the UK. I had a production company with a friend of mine, Craig Robert Young, and we were like 20. And actually, I was older than Craig. I must have been 24 or 25. And we did some incredible things with no money. And it never got. He went to the States, and I came back to New Zealand, and it never kind of got to where it could have got to. So I've always had, as a result of doing that, I've always had a lot of love about what it takes to bring something together. You know, I learned a lot in that experience, and I think we did it for a year. I spoke to a minister. I spoke to Mel Molan, who was the Minister for Peace in Northern Ireland. And I remember getting that phone call at 6 a.m. and going, and what struck me about that phone call was, wow, from my ironing board in my living room in London, we somehow connected to the minister who's trying to create peace in Northern Ireland. I thought, wow, isn't that incredible? So I moved to London from London. I haven't done anything in media since then, and a few years ago I was connected to a very smart financial planner, and I thought, gee, it would be really good to do something with his voice, because I think there's a real clarity in his sound. And the other thing too is people are desperate to find the right answer. The problem with the internet is there's so many answers, but you don't know which is the right one now. So I wanted to create a space for him where he could start talking about creating wealth and financial freedom for future. And, you know, I'm a part of Joy, who's it's a gay radio show in Australia. And so I went up to them and I said, look, can we create this show? I called the producer and I said, I'd like to create this show for our community. How do you feel about that? And we went up and had a number of interviews, and actually we pulled it off. And I had to do some training around it, and it took like 6 months to get my training and get all that done. But do you know what? It was really great because I got to meet these new people. I got to identify my own community, which I hadn't done in a long time since I'd left London. And I really enjoyed the journey of getting there. And now that I'm a part of that community and podcasting and radio, I never want to leave it. I want to stay. You know, being a property strategist is fun, and I enjoy that because that's all about research, and I kind of feel like I'm hunting with a pocket knife and a flashlight. But podcasting and radio and media is about showcasing incredible people doing incredible things for me, and I need to eat that. That's part of my food. It's part of what nurtures me and my soul.
Yeah.
And I love it. I just love it.
Oh, you can tell you love it. I'm seriously watching you, and I can see now that you have had some training, because seeing you in that studio and pushing buttons and getting microphones connected and everything, I'm sitting there going, wow, this woman knows what she's doing. I want to just go back a little bit to something that you said that was really intriguing. And I think a lot of people stop and don't follow their dreams or don't make a start because of lack of money and resources. Yet you started in your 20s without any money, a media venture, and you're just saying, I'm sitting there with my ironing board talking to the Minister for Peace in Northern Ireland. I mean, you had no cash. So
we had nothing. We had nothing. It was hilarious.
So on that, what do you think it was that made it happen? Because so many people don't start because they think they need money, but you got some results. So what was it, do you believe, that created the outcome, the results that you wanted without the cash?
Well, there was two of us. There was three of us, actually. There was three of us. It was Craig, who he was in a band, and he was one of my closest friends. And he really wanted to do a production company, and he was really pulled to go to LA. And I said to him, why don't we try and do something here in London? And we didn't have any money, but we had lots of people. Like, I knew the owner of a Soho House in London because I'd worked for him. I knew all these really affluent people. I was very well known in a little area in London called Soho, and so was Craig. And what we decided to do was we decided to ask. It was really simple. We were just going to ask everybody we knew. And we had a gorgeous friend called Ben who worked with us in the restaurants. And we just asked everybody we knew if they would support us. And there was a band, Stephen from one of the bands, what was it, Hamley's toy shop they sponsored us during the walk. We got free production equipment because we just asked everybody we knew. We ended up doing the launch from Soho House with a mentor we had all these really famous people that we knew as a consequence of working in Soho that supported us because they believed in us. But what was interesting was we believed in ourselves. I was standing at Ellen DeGeneres' coming out party in London. I was hanging out with her mum. And because I didn't want to get that whole lights, camera, action stuff. She was being interviewed by Graham Norton and we were all at the back. But I was hanging out with Ellen's mum, and what struck me was it's incredible what you can create just because you ask.
I love that.
We just ask.
That is just so powerful because a lot of people don't.
They don't ask, they're afraid.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing when I've travelled around the world, and that's the one thing I'm not afraid of. I'm not afraid of asking. Because if I get a no, all I want is one yes. I don't know. If I get 100 no's and I get one yes, I'm still ahead of the game because I got that one yes. And Craig was like that. The other thing too is I kind of feel like we were well liked and well respected as well. So I think we'd earned the right to ask because the people that we were asking knew us. They'd seen us in our environment. They understood what we stood for. We did a documentary on the Peace March to Northern Ireland because that was really important to us. It was important to me. It was important to Craig because we lived in London when, garbage bins were being blown up and the city was being blown up, and we really wanted peace. And there was something about feeling really passionately about that too that was maybe a catalyst in having us feel okay about asking as well. So there's some different things in that, but yeah, not being afraid to ask was critical for us because we didn't have any money. And the boys did the production. We finished it. They were on the television when we launched. Craig was getting interviewed on TV in the morning and I'm like, how do we do this? But there was a magic around it too. It was incredible. It was lovely.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And another thing that you said, and you just keep piquing my curiosity, so I'm going to just keep going deeper down this rabbit hole of your journey. And I didn't know we were going to go here, because I don't know any of this about your history, which is brilliant. So you said that you earned the respect of people. Now, in this world that we live in at the moment, I will go to networking events and I feel like I'm being attacked by hyenas, right? So, you know, I don't want to work with these people. They haven't earned my respect. So what was it, do you think, that you were doing so that you had the respect to be able to go and ask these people of influence for help? What do you think was the underlying thing about you and your partners?
That's an interesting question. I think, you know, when you work in a little area like Soho and it's a square mile, you know, we would give coffee away. We created a home within our little community. You know, we'd take care of each other. If somebody needed a taxi because they were too drunk, we'd come out of the restaurants and put them in a taxi. We always looked out for each other in that community, and I think that built a currency for us. And not that we looked at it, not that we were looking at making a withdrawal from that currency, it was who we were in that space that enabled us, because we cared. We cared about everybody that lived in that square mile, and I think that gave us the ability to ask. I think we knew we were okay. Because you look at each other when you live in a small area, an overly densely populated area like Soho, you actually end up, you can ignore 95% of the people because you learn that as a skill set. But the other 5% that you look out for, you look out for them. They become part of your family or your community and your environment. And I think we knew that, you know. And look, Craig, who I worked with on the show, you know, he was an incredibly beautiful, smart, articulate, gorgeous young man, and he had his own currency. He felt as driven about creating peace in Northern Ireland as I did. And the other thing too is these people that we had these relationships with had seen us for over 10 years. We were a long established part of their community. We didn't just arrive. So, and I'm just making this up. I'm thinking that's how it must have happened.
Yeah. Well,
you know.
I'm gonna just add to what you've just said, because there's actually some really ancient principles and laws that I think you were doing unconsciously. So in one of the programs that I actually facilitate, one of the whole modules is called Leaving Everyone with the Impression of Increase. And it's about exactly what you said. We were making these deposits without ever thinking of withdrawing. We were giving, yeah, and that's a really, really fundamental thing that I think a lot of people miss is a lot of people give to get, and that's not giving, that's trading. I will give you this cup of coffee, this free cup of coffee, because I know that might get me business. No, I'm giving you a free cup of coffee because I want to give you a free cup of coffee. Or I'm getting you a cab because it's just in the goodness of my heart. I'm not expecting anything back. I just know it's the best thing to do for humanity. That is true giving. And so many people who are looking to start a business or do something do a lot of trading. And I don't think you traded. I think you were giving, and that built that respect. That built that ability for people to go, you know what, you're actually authentically nice people. We want to help. We want to work with you.
We genuinely love the people, like the people that we went to see, to talk to. I remember I used to do Nick Jones's, I was studying reflexology at the same time, and I do his feet. And he owned Soho House and all the other private members clubs. And as a consequence of doing that, we became mates, friends, and I worked for him. So there was never an order to. I didn't have that relationship with him to get anything from him. I had it with him because I was a reflexologist and I needed more feet. And he said, do my feet this. And I went, I'm doing them. And it was all the relationships that we built over the time of living in that space. I know that if Craig went back to Soho now and I went back to Soho now, there would still be people that we could still meet. and we could still say hello to, and we could still buy coffee with. And we loved it. We loved those people.
Yeah.
Family.
And it's such beautiful, like, I don't even know if you realize the story you're telling and how this will help so many people who have a project or an idea they want to get off the ground and they don't know where to start. They actually have everything they need. If they've got a network of people who they've been, leaving with the impression of increase, who they have been doing things for, not trading, they have it there at their fingertips, the resources they need, if they're willing to ask, right?
Yeah, and that's the key right there. It's asking.
Yeah. But that courage to ask came because you had relationships with them. If you're going to ask a complete stranger, it's harder than asking somebody who, at the time when you were helping them or doing something good for them, you weren't expecting that in the future you're going to have to ask them for help. But you've built a relationship with people through your giving. You've got the formula for success right there.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. I find that. You know what? And I think you're right. I think that is the formula for success. I've been to those, you mentioned going to those networking groups and those things. I can't do them. I refuse to do them. I've tried. I give out 10 cards and it's inconsequential behaviour giving a business card over to a client if you don't really know whose business card you're giving over. In actual fact, you're creating a damage. If you don't know the person, don't do it. Because for me personally, when I give my name to someone or something, I'm making a recommendation that's on my name. I don't think people realise the importance of that, the weight of your name and your recommendations. And I think that gets lost somehow. Because you meet someone online does not make them the right person to source into your business or into your environment or your community.
Yeah.
It's getting to know each other.
And that's a real deep relationship, and unfortunately that doesn't happen in a networking event. Unfortunately. You don't have time. It's like speed dating.
It does not happen at a networking event.
Beautiful. I love what you've just uncovered. And again, like I said earlier, your journey, we've gone somewhere that I had no idea we were going to go today, because I had no idea about this journey you had, when you're in your 20s. So based on that, what you did back then, what do you think was your greatest lesson that you're now using today in everything that you're doing today and the projects that you're creating and working on?
I think I think the greatest gift that was ever bestowed upon me is I got really sick. I went to India and I got rheumatoid arthritis in my joints. And before then I was 6'2" and bulletproof. I could do everything at 1 billion miles an hour, and I was pretty indestructible. And when I got sick, what I realized was I'm destructible. I'm a human being. And I remember I had to go back to New Zealand from London, and I was crippled. I couldn't walk. I was told to choose a nice wheelchair. And I would get around on my elbows and my knees. It's interesting talking about it now, and not being able to open the door because it required some strength to do it. And the reason, and I'll explain to you why I'm telling you this at the end. What was interesting about that as an experience, out of all the experiences I've had, and look, I've been everywhere. I can say hello and bugger off in most languages. What was unique about that was I had to choose who I was going to be inside the relationship with my arthritis. Like, who am I going to be about this? And I had to craft a way to be that was going to serve me and keep me pain-free and make a living. Because of the plans, I was going to study osteopathy in London. I've been accepted at the college there. And all of a sudden I couldn't use my hands, so that wasn't going to happen. And as a consequence of becoming unwell, and very, very quickly unwell, I think when I landed in from India, I was in London for about 6 weeks to 2 months before my friends just packed me off back to New Zealand because they were gravely concerned about me. What I learned was I am the architect. I will determine what it looks like. I will not let my disease or my shortfallings create my life. I will create it. And the reason why I'm saying that to you is a lot of people have self-limiting beliefs. They limit themselves. And it's not till you're actually up hard against a wall that you have to make some key decisions. And what I'm saying is, don't be hard up against that wall. You don't have to be. Make those decisions when you're functioning, while you're functioning. Don't allow self-limiting beliefs to get in the way of what's possible, because what's possible is infinite and anything. And we can do it. We can go out there and we can achieve whatever we want. I do it from my home office. I have a 28-inch Mac, and there is nothing I can't do today from this Mac, because I've made a decision that that's how I'm going to conduct myself. And if out of this interview, if I leave your listeners with nothing else, I want to leave them with that don't let the naysayers or the self-doubt get in the way of what's possible for yourself, because it's infinite. You can have anything.
And that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful advice. And the thing that really captured my attention there was when you mentioned, a lot of people don't wait for that drastic thing, the dark night of the soul or the disease or something. Yeah. And here's the thing, people go, but I'm fine now. I'm bulletproof, like you, 6'2", and I'm bulletproof. But if you actually pay attention to what Elizabeth is saying here, you can actually stand on her shoulders, stand on the shoulder of a giant, and learn from her mistakes. So here's something that I read recently, and I've sort of known it, but it didn't really click for me, was, we learn, there's two ways we learn. One is through surprises and one is through mistakes. And I used to always tell people, just go have a go at something. If you fail, it's okay. Learn from the mistake. But then recently I thought, well, hang on, you don't have to learn from your own mistakes. Let's learn from everybody else's mistakes. And that's where you move a lot faster. So if people are listening to you right now, they can learn from, don't wait. Start today as the architect of your life. Stand on Elizabeth's shoulders and go, I hear you. I see the journey you've been on. And you know what? I'm going to start today being the architect for my future.
Yeah.
How
exactly
amazing is that?
And you don't need a car crash or a train wreck to make that decision. I wish I'd made that decision years before I got my disease, because although I've got to say I've always had I've never really been bridled. I've had a pretty magnificent life. And I think if I died tomorrow, I could quite gladly say I've lived. But you don't need the train wreck. Decide that anything's possible today, and then get on the phone. And the other thing is too, don't be afraid to tell people what you're doing. People are afraid to say what they're doing. Don't tell everybody what you're doing, because when you do that, you unconsciously invite them to join you. They want to be a part of it. The nature of human being is good.
And then, but I think there's another thing that happens when you start, preaching what you're doing, not preaching in a bad way, but telling people, is all of a sudden you go, oh shit, now I've got to do it. It actually makes you accountable for your dream, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the other thing too is once you start speaking it, you actually start, it goes from being a wish into present self. And present self's really nice, because when you're in present self, or there's another word for it, I can't remember it off the top of my head. When you're in that space, you can actually start structuring it and bringing it together. Because it has to get out of there. It has to get out of dream state. It has to get into now state. And that's the most beautiful thing, when you start putting it out there and saying it. And the deal is too, you'll start to get a feel of who your friends are and who you probably need to get rid of or discard, because some people will be opposed to your growth and your desire to get ahead. Don't let them get in the way of it. It's just an indication that you've moved on and that you've grown, and you need to find other people to cultivate and grow with.
I love that. Words of wisdom. I need you on my team. You're on my team now. Very inspiring stuff.
Listen, I remember you talking to you about you going into entrepreneurship and leaving your business and what that took, and setting up your business and the journey for you to do that. And I was really inspired by that, because a lot of people are in office jobs or in actually, I shouldn't say off. To me, that would be a long and slow death. But they're in roles that really don't serve them and don't inspire them. And, you know, what you did was, there's great courage in doing that. And because really, the person that you're backing is yourself. And I think there's no other greater person to back than yourself.
Someone's got to do it, right?
Someone's got to do it.
It's your life. It's absolutely your life. And here's the thing, I did what you're telling people to do without something drastic happening in my life. I did that. I became the architect. So I want to ask you before as we finish up, what were some of the things you did to become that architect? So what are some tangible things that you were doing to go, okay, I've got rheumatoid arthritis, I'm now back home in New Zealand. What did you do? Because right now you're not crawling around on your hands and feet. You're an amazing businesswoman. You've got all this work in media. You've got these awesome projects on the horizon. What was it that you did?
So the first thing I did was I found a healer for me, and that was critical. One of my friends, Lee, she doesn't realize it, and I do remind her. She came over every night and she rubbed my hands and feet, and it was the only reason why I'm walking, because whatever was stuck in my feet and my hands, I just couldn't. It was honestly like walking on broken glass. So she rubbed my hands and feet, and she was my healer, and she did it for 6 months. And then I wasn't sure what to do. And one of my great friends, who I just love, said to me, I was talking to her on the phone, and she's a coach. She's actually very similar to her, Heather. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, darling, while you're talking, you will always be able to make money. And I thought, so there's my gift. And my dad's real estate agent walked in at that time, and I watched him, and I turned to my dad and I said, I can do that, Dad. I know how that works because of my dad. So once I started consciously thinking about how to recover, once I was in that space of new and of starting to feel stronger, things started to arrive, but I started to question what was next. And that's when they started to arrive. So I trusted myself, and I also trusted the direction that I needed to take. I didn't doubt myself.
Yeah.
So as I pondered, it came, and then I went to London and I started working. I met the guy I started working in real estate in. Across the road, he was in a suit, and he whistled. I whistled at him because he had Portman Heritage on the side of his car, and I said, "Oi, mate, I really want to do that for a living." And he was this very well-groomed man, and he gave me a job in a very elite, high-end market of real estate. So I guess the thing is to ponder, to trust when it arrives. A lot of people ask the angels for help, and when the angels give it, they go, oh, that wasn't the help I wanted. So to accept it as a gift when it comes, to recognize it, and to trust yourself that you can do it. And that was I guess to end on a biblical note, and because I'm quite spiritual. God said you can have anything, but we have a fundamental requirement. We have to run 2 sticks together to create fire. We must action it ourselves. We can have whatever we like, but we have to be prepared to do the work. And I was prepared to do the work.
Yeah, beautiful. And what a great way to end this conversation with you is about get out there, people, and do the work. Elizabeth, thank you so much. I mean, I think we could have talked a lot longer, and maybe it's another thing we do down the track. I'm sure it will be. I know our paths are crossed now. I love you. If people want to get hold of you for anything, are you open to people reaching out to you to connect with you for whether it be advice, property, anything like that? If they are, what's the best way to reach you?
So through Public Property, that's my business, Elizabeth at publicproperty.com.au is the easiest way to get hold of me. And if it's for media or information or anything, that's my business. But I'm I'm happy to help wherever I can. It doesn't have to be about property. It can be about whatever. I'm available.
Yeah. And for people want to listen to you, there's the recordings of the Got Money podcast available on Joy FM, on the website on Joy FM. And there's the launch of Hot Entrepreneur that you launched last week as well, another podcast. So get on and listen to those, especially if you're about to move into entrepreneurship, soulpreneurial, whatever it is. Get on and have a listen. I know there's some great interviews on there. And I'm in one of those, or two of them, I think. So looking forward to it.
You do.
I made it to two. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your precious time today. I really appreciate it. I'm sure our listeners have too.
Take care. Thanks.
Thank you.
All the best.
Today is turning into the most curious adventure I've ever had.